Well, here we are again with so many people I know in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. It's great to see you. Many of you who I haven't seen yet in 2024. So for those that I haven't, a special Happy New Year to you all. And a massive welcome to all of our subscribers, first-time viewers and LinkedIn members to a one-off special focusing on whether there's a place for people with non-traditional backgrounds in cybersecurity. And today I'm joined by a very special, I can talk today, a very special guest, Mr. Aaron Strong. Aaron's an Information Security Risk Analyst with a Master's of Science in Cyber, specializing in cyber intelligence. He's passionate about security awareness and enjoys giving people the tools, practices, and knowledge they need to protect themselves and their business from threats both internally and externally. And through his professional career, Aaron has held a wide array of positions. Unlike Liam Neeson, this has led him to having a very bizarre and varied set of skills that he taps into for his career. Just because someone doesn't come from a traditional IT or cyber background doesn't mean they don't belong or have very applicable and in-demand abilities. He's also been fortunate enough to have traveled the world over, has 3 amazing boys, and loves to talk hockey. And topically, when I was over in Tampa the second time last year, staying with Steve Hindle and Emma, we were shopping in a very lovely shopping centre in Tampa, and I heard a, "Hey, Simon!" And I turned around and there he was, someone from 5,000 miles away who I'd only spoke to on LinkedIn. So I'm delighted to have him on the show today. But before we bring him on, and for those new to the channel, I'm your host, Simon Lindstedt, and by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to over 150,000 views here on YouTube. By you, our amazing 8,218, I think now, subscribers. So a huge thank you for your engagement, and thanks to your support, it's also led to the launch of our in-person community-driven events in both the UK and US, with a focus on knowledge sharing, networking, and definitely no sales pitches. I've put up a QR code there. If you're brave enough to click it, I know what it's like in this industry, you might be hesitant, but I promise you it's fine. It's a link through to our community of nearly 6,000 now cyber professionals. It's free. And in there we have regular study groups, mentor sessions, and networking events to help you raise your game in cybersecurity. Lots in store for 2024. Can't talk about it yet because it's all still in the planning stage, but get yourself in there and come and see us and share the joy and share the wisdom in the cybersecurity community. Another QR code for you. I mentioned the events just then. We had such a good year last year. We did 8 events in the UK and US. We've had some amazing feedback from the attendees and those the vendors kind enough to sponsor the events, so much so that we've got 24 events planned in 2024. The first one in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks tomorrow, we are in Austin, Texas, with Procyon and Connect.io hosting challenges of a modern CISO. So if anyone in the Austin area is watching this and they want to attend, make sure you drop me a message and I'll send you an invite across. And if anyone's interested in sponsoring or attending any of our events, have a look at this QR code. It does give you a list on that website, takes you through to our events page, which will basically give you a list of all the events that we're attending or hosting at this year, and also a little bit more of an idea of what it's about as well. So again, if you haven't, make sure you join the community. And if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed buy me a cheeky decaf coffee, we do have a way you can show your appreciation here on our YouTube channel with 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So if you're watching this live, please do like and subscribe. We want to make these events as interactive as possible, so make sure you drop any questions you might have in the chat. Okay, time for me to stop running on. Let's bring Aaron on. If I can find the button. This happens every time. Here we go. I feel like I need a chief button pusher. Hey Aaron, good to see you.
How are you doing? I'm doing well. It's good to see you on the computer, I guess. I will say the running into you in Tampa was one of the more bizarre experiences that I've had since being in the cyber community. So that was so bizarre.
It was.
So
for me, 5,000 miles away from home, walking around a shopping centre with a couple of friends, you don't expect someone to shout out your name, do you? It's not what you expect at all. And just like to say, you look much more handsome in real life, Aaron. I didn't recognise you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, normally I would never have done something like that, but I knew that you had just had the CISO series downtown.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why would you be up here? This got to be you. You know what it's going to be? Or meet you, and that's a wonderful experience, or I make a fool out of myself, and I never see no one except for my wife has to make fun of me about it.
Brilliant. Well, it was. I tell you what was wonderful was seeing you with your beautiful family. You've got three beautiful boys.
Oh, thank you.
I've still got three beautiful boys, but my three beautiful boys are a lot bigger now and grown up. And whilst I've got little ones, it was lovely to see you all looking so happy in that shopping centre. But before I start blowing any more smoke up your backside, Aaron, let's just jump back in the chat because there's so many people in here today. You must be a very, very popular man. That's all I can say. We've got Kerry. Good to see you, Kerry. I think I've already said hello in there. Precious, Ben, Alana Boyajian. We need to catch up, Alana. It's been too long. Jay Tilson, one of my favourite people in the world. And who else have we got? Carlos Guerrero, my man, representing Tampa. Love that. Talking about beautiful children, my oldest son, Alfie, he's in the house as well. Kaya's in the house. And Cyber Sleuth, all the way from New Jersey. And Viviana Granados, good to see you too. And Jason Carrico, good to see you, my friend. Great to talk the other day. Who else have we got? Beth Butler, Zishan Fraz, my word. What a load of people. Cyber Sleuth has asked, can you send me a link for this stuff you mentioned? I'll send this link. This is a link to join the free community. I'm not sure how that will work from a clicking point of view coming up on here. And the other link I was talking about was the event site, which again, I'm more than happy to share with you here. And thank you for asking. But today isn't about me, as much as I like to keep talking. It's about Aaron and Aaron's journey. And what I love about this is we've got something in common, that we both come from a non-traditional background into cybersecurity. And we see lots of people on LinkedIn making comments around what skills you need, whether there's entry-level positions. Some people get accused of gatekeeping. Others are probably overly positive and not managing people's expectations terribly well, dare I say, and telling people it's quite an easy thing to do. I think there's a middle ground there. And I think for some people, there are definitely ways in without the traditional background. But I want to dig in today, Aaron, and find out how your non-traditional background has helped you land that job. So do you want to start off by telling our audience a bit about you and where you started, I suppose, where you grew up, what you liked at school, usual kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Midwest, just like a typical Midwest American kid playing sports. And that's the majority of my interests were just playing as many sports as I possibly could. And the other area that I really liked was things that are technology-wise. Computers became a thing when I was in elementary school. I remember we had a brand new computer lab that got put into our elementary school, and it was like the old Apple computers that had no mouse, and you had all the prompts to make anything happen. And I remember at recess time, you could go in, you could play around with them, or you could go outside, and it was always such a huge dilemma for me because I was torn because I could go in and play these things that I didn't have at our house, or I could go run around outside with my hyperactivity in full swing. So making that choice is always difficult, but I distinctly remember loving sitting in front of a computer and just kind of making things happen because I thought it was so cool and the game. So even from the very beginning, I've always really enjoyed technology and enjoyed computers and things like that. So that's always been kind of a part of who I was. But, as I grew up and continued and went off to school, I went after other passions. Another thing, I love music. And so when I went to school, I got my degree, undergrad degree in audio production and engineering. It was a subsect of this large degree, but that's what I started out doing after college. And that was kind of the start of the weird and unusual skill set that I referenced, because that allowed me to do some pretty crazy things as well as I got older. So
I need an example of one of those crazy things, please. You can't just say crazy things and then not tell me what they are. That's not fair.
Absolutely. Well, one of the crazy things is that I worked at sea on cruise ships for almost 9 years. So that audio production degree that I have landed me a job after a long series of events. I was working in Detroit at a production studio. I was running the recording studio side of things, and this is just before the collapse happened, right? And so I realized very quickly I needed to find another job and get out of there. And so I started throwing my resume everywhere. And Caribbean got back to me and said, "Hey, you could be one of our head sound and light techs. Come on over." So why not? As a young 20-year-old, why not go see the world? And I got to, like you referenced, I got to go see the world and get paid for it at the same time.
Amazing.
Which was pretty nuts at that age.
Have you kept that passion, the music and the production passion? Do you still do that in your part-time?
Yeah. I play the guitar. I dabbled in piano. My oldest son has started piano now because of it. He really likes to just bang around on the keys, which is cool to see. But another area, my wife is a professional figure skater and coach. And
wow.
all of her, another weird part of our background, but all of her students need music edited and cut for what they do when they go and perform and they go and compete. Of course. So I get to do that for them, which is wonderful because it allows me to continue working on projects that I also love and gives me kind of a side hobby, which actually, it reminds me, she needed a cut this before she goes to her lessons. So I'll need to do that after.
We better hurry up.
After I get off of work before this evening.
I heard two words, this is the way my brain works, both with ivity on the end in what you've just been talking about. One was hyperactivity and one was creativity. And I want to focus on both of them quickly. So the hyperactivity, I don't want to make any assumptions here, but is that linked to any kind of behavioral traits that you might have, Aaron?
Well, it's very much into my ADHD diagnosis and my inability to sit still, and I'm always wanting to move. And I guess that's what gave me a desire to go play sports and things. I always had to be moving.
Yeah. And do you think it's, I don't think you can say ADHD gave you this, but a lot of people like myself who've got ADHD, we've taken a few risks in our life as well that other people wouldn't have done. And I would have said going away on your own on that cruise ship in your early 20s wouldn't have been something that everyone would have done. So it's quite a brave thing to do, right? What did your family think of that at the time?
I don't really know what they truly thought. They were supportive of the idea, mostly because I really needed the job at the time. But I don't know how I would necessarily feel if my kids decided, hey, by the way, I'm going to go jump on board a ship and I'll see you in however many months when I'm able to come back. It would be kind of difficult to say goodbye, but at the same time, now knowing it's an amazing opportunity. So it, for better and for worse, I've made some interesting decisions throughout my life.
Me too. Let's not focus on some of those interesting decisions because I don't want to drag up history for me and potentially not for you either. But what I want to focus on is what happened next. Yeah. So why did you come off the cruise ships? What happened next?
Well, after working on cruise ships, we decided, my wife and I, because I met her on the cruise ship. She worked there too. She was performing in the ice shows, and so I ran her show. She performed in the shows, and we got married and decided we kind of wanted to start a family eventually. And so you can't really do that while floating around in the middle of the ocean. So we decided to get off and start working again. And that's kind of where I started to take that turn back towards something a little bit more cybersecurity like. We were from New York and the city specifically at that point, and I wanted to. Getting into police work was the direction that I wanted to go because, again, that whole like security, keeping people safe.
Yeah.
Always kind of spoke to me as well. Even in undergrad, that was kind of the directions. Should I go criminal justice? Should I do something else? and I went with something else. But coming back, I said, you know what, this isn't a bad career. Let's look into this and let's go that route. And that ultimately, I got in and started working, and ultimately did really work out for our family, and we moved down to Tampa, where I got a job working at the university, the local university here, University of South Florida. And I was running the AV and the AV department, which also had a big chunk with IT as well. And that's kind of what started getting me interested in the idea of merging those two areas, the technology area that I really, really liked, as well as that security and policing kind of idea of what I had done.
Just to put this into context for the people watching, how long ago was this that you were doing that at the University of Tampa?
So I left the university about a year and a half ago when I started working for the company I do now, Cineverse. But I started working at the company over 7 years ago. So I think I spent about 6.5 years at the university, working and actually getting my degree there as well.
Okay. Quick question. Are your children playing online games? Because your bandwidth seems to have gone down quite significantly.
No.
It's normally the problem I have.
Oh, the two are at school right now, and my other child is sleeping. So I don't know why that would be, unless my neighbors are tapping into something.
Maybe your neighbors are tapping into you. It's okay. You just keep getting a little bit glitchy, but I can hear you. It's absolutely fine. Okay. So did you say a year and a half ago you left doing that job?
Yes. Yep.
So you walked straight out of a technical role at the university into a cybersecurity position, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that it took me a very long time.
Have I made it sound easier than it was there, Aaron?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Talking about giving undue expectation. Yeah, it took me. My youngest son is just about 2.5, and I graduated with my master's in cybersecurity right when he was born, like within a couple of weeks of the two things happened. And I thought for sure, I'm like, oh, I keep seeing this. Oh, there's this skill gap. There's all these jobs in cybersecurity. I should be able to, before I come back from paternity leave, which in my case was 12 weeks, I will definitely have a job by that point. I'll just focus really hard. And it took over a year for me to actually land something. And it all kind of goes back to the fact I wasn't really playing to my strengths. I wasn't focusing on what I could bring to the table. I was focusing on how I could try to fit something else and try to go at it the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Square peg in round hole.
Exactly. So, and that is one thing I keep seeing over and over on LinkedIn and people on YouTube when they're talking about having these problems trying to find positions. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was right there. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it wasn't until I decided to kind of embrace those differences that I could bring to the table that I started really making any amount of traction and headway in the job search. And that was a kind of watershed moment for me.
Talk me through that then. How did you go about identifying firstly, how did you go about identifying what those skills were? And then how did you relate them to the industry you wanted to get into? Because I think these are the bits that can really help people.
Yeah. And what I did is I'd actually talked, I tried talking to as many different people as I could, one-on-one or in group sessions that I could find online, or excuse me, I couldn't find as much here in the Tampa area because I hadn't really rooted myself into the community yet.
Sure.
So I was finding people online and just saying, hey, can we have a quick meeting? Let's talk. And there was one individual I talked to, and they're like, you're doing this all wrong. I don't come from an IT background. I don't have a really strong coding background. There's people, I was trying to find SOC analyst positions because that's what I thought was the way in. Everyone talks about, an entry level SOC position. You do that for a couple of years and then you can pivot out of that to something else. And that's where your career begins. And that's all I could think about.
Yeah. And let's just stop on that for a minute, because for some people that is a valid path into cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
I think what we're trying to get across here for anyone that's watching is it's so important to look at what skills you bring, what experience you bring, and how you can relate that. I just wanted to make sure you didn't think we were saying that being a SOC analyst wasn't a viable route in.
Oh, no, not at all. Being a SOC analyst is amazing and can really rocket your career forward. I have quite a few friends that have gone that route and done amazing things already with their careers. But for me, that was not the way for me, because I would struggle in certain areas of, identifying.
Sitting still.
Sitting still, sure, absolutely. But even still, from a technical background, I didn't have, the CLI, the command line interface.
Yeah.
Background that some of these other people did that could do stuff without even thinking.
Yeah.
It took me a couple seconds. It took me a minute to figure out what it was that I was trying to do. And in a SOC, you don't have minutes. You've got seconds. You got to be able to do this quick. And so I was getting really, really frustrated. And I actually had a professor at one point tell me, like, listen, the fact that you're not coming from an IT background is really going to hurt you when you go into the job market. And so I thought, well, shoot, maybe this isn't the place for me after all. And that's when I started reaching out and just get other people's ideas. And they started pointing me in different directions of non-technical roles, but are still within cybersecurity. I said, go back and think about, what are you good at? What are you know what you're not good at this point. You've been able to figure that out over the past 9 months. What is it that you are good at? And look for roles that have that in there. And some of the things that I was good at was, I'm very good at explaining things and breaking things down. After working at the university for as long as I did, I was hiring students in every single semester. And every single semester, I would have to teach them how to use the equipment that we were using. And so being able to take those complex ideas and break them down into smaller areas was something that I knew that I was pretty good at. So while maybe I wasn't going to be sitting in a SOC, finding the bad guys as they're entering into somebody's network, I can take those theories and ideas and present them to other people in a way that they would be able to understand. While I was working out at sea, I was able to meet, our workforce is global there. My workforce now is global as well, the company that I work for.
Who do you work for, Aaron? Are you allowed to say who you work for at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I work for Cineverse Technologies, where we work in telecommunication, linking networks across the globe. And so because of that, we've got people all over the globe that work for the company, as well as customers that are global as well. And I was able to tap into what it was that I did while I was on ships. I have friends that live in every continent except for Antarctica at this point. I never met a penguin. So
how disappointing.
That's the one. Yeah, I know. That's the one continent that I don't get to have. But every other continent I know people on. And so I've been able to learn to, how to be able to communicate effectively with people from different areas. Because, we're all humans. We're all the same at a very high level. But as you get more nuanced, we have different ideas, different backgrounds, different different references that we understand. And so that was, again, something that I could absolutely say, hey, this is something that I can do. And then from a technical background, from what I had done before, I love the production side of things. And so I'm a very creative person. Yeah. Exactly. And so now when I start looking at things, the GRC role is what really started to look like, oh, there's a whole lot of things here that really line up with what I can do. I'm going to be dealing with other people throughout the company. I'm going to, I work right now awareness and training, really have a big hand in our company. So I'm taking these big cybersecurity ideas and these big ideas and trying to break them down and give them to the company and say, here's why we need to worry about this. Here's why you as an employee need to know not to click on that link or not to scan that QR code. That Maserati is not going to be yours. I'm sorry. And so, and so that was something that I was, that I could absolutely do that. And that was where I really kind of started gaining traction, is when I then started saying, okay, well, let's look into GRC roles and see where we got.
I see we've got some Simply Cyber people in the house. Did you take advantage of Jerry's amazing GRC course? Because I think it's awesome, that course he put together.
Funny you ask that, because it was because of you and Alana that I was able to take advantage of that GRC course. So
the live stream.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
This is like full circle moment kind of an idea. Yeah. When I had just landed this new job and was really trying to figure out, all right, well, what is it that I can do in my new role? And I saw on LinkedIn that you had Alana coming on talking about GRC. This is perfect. Let's go talk to Simon and Alana and just pick their brains. And through that, one of the things was, if you asked a question, you got put into a drawing to get the GRC masterclass. And
I remember,
fortunately, whatever you want to say, universe, a higher power, you pulled my name and I was able to take the course, and it was amazing. It was absolutely fantastic to take that. And it helped a lot. It really, really did, because even though I already had the position, I could figure out, okay, well, here's what it's going to be expected of me as I move through the position itself.
Was it a new position at the company, or were you replacing someone who'd already done the role before? So were there, I suppose I'm asking the question, were there expectations from the person who'd been there before, or were you given remit to kind of come in and do a clean sweep?
It was not a new position, but I also was given a lot of latitude when I came in to take over and make some of those areas my own. Like I said, I do a lot with the awareness and training. And so my manager's fantastic. He's really given me a whole lot of latitude to be able to take what it is that I wanted to do and kind of make them my own. Granted, still have to fit within parameters, but I've been able to kind of run with things and do those. So that was cool to be able to do that and really be able to, even though it was already a position, I was able to kind of take it and make it my own. Yeah.
Sounded like you needed to improve on whoever was there before, but you said it in much more nicer terminology than that, Aaron. Just telling you what I think.
I appreciate you, Simon.
Just say no comment and we'll move on. I think because you just blown smoke up your manager's backside, so they're probably sitting there smiling. We don't want to ruin that now, do we? No.
Was it that obvious?
A little bit, yeah. Okay. I'm going to move you to the top because we've had a couple of questions in, and one of them I think is very relevant, especially what you've just been talking about. So it's from Beth Butner. And Beth says she's currently a teacher wanting to transition into security awareness. Took a cyber boot camp, studying for Sec Plus. Are there any other certifications you would suggest to take to help me? Now, I want to take a step back before we talk about certifications, because everything that Aaron's been talking about, I think, might give you a slightly different answer, Beth, to chasing those certs. But I'm going to pass it over to you, Aaron, and let you answer that.
Yeah, so I got my Plus at the end of my degree program, and it's great to have, in the fact that it forced me to learn a whole lot of those topics that I'm now talking about at work. I don't know as if the plus would or would have to me from getting the position itself. ISC2 or ISC squared, they also have their certified cyber, which is another really good entry level certification that you can get. And you see people all the time going back and forth, yes certs, no certs, and they're good to have in the fact that it makes you a lot of great topics, but I don't know as if it would necessarily give you or preclude you from getting a specific job. I think a lot of it, I saw somebody up here talking about, Alana is awesome and 100% working. That was huge. That I think is probably the better area to focus, because they get to know you at that point, and so many of these positions get handed around and, oh, you know who? I know Simon. Simon is fantastic. Let me tell this person about
100%. And that is how I see more people breaking in the industry. I hate this saying, but I'm going to say it. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. So building up your network is hugely important. The point I wanted to get to with Beth is, we were talking about all the skills that you brought from your childhood, from your experiences, from your work. Beth's a teacher. So Beth, you're already way up there with the conflict resolution skills, I would argue. You're way up there with the ability to communicate at any level. I don't know what age children or whether they're children that you teach. But again, parents, dealing with parents as whether you're a school teacher or a sports coach. I've been a sports coach and dealt with parents, and there's definitely a skill that can be translated across to cybersecurity there, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, Beth, you should be looking at all the stuff that you're bringing to the table for this industry. And my opinion, I'm not a technical expert. I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I've come into this industry 3 years ago as a 46-year-old person with sales experience and different life experiences. And the one thing this industry needs is diversification. And I'm not just talking about gender, sex, color. I'm talking about diversity of thought. And the experience you bring from teaching, the general public still have not engaged with cybersecurity and still don't take it seriously. And there's a reason for that. And everyone blames the public, but the problem is the industry, and we're doing a really, really bad job of it. Whether you're talking at senior C level or whether you're talking about the mums and dads on the playground at school, as an industry, we're failing. And the only way I think that's going to change is if we have more people with the skills that Aaron's got, potentially the skills you've got, Beth. So my comment would be, don't chase the certifications. Take a step back and think about how you can relate the skills you've already got. And as Aaron said, absolutely, speak to as many people as you can in the industry who do as many different jobs as possible to make sure that you're aiming at the right thing, rather than going back to what Aaron said about 20 minutes ago, coming straight in, my only option is to be a junior tier 1 SOC analyst. It isn't. Yeah. So I'll get off my high horse now, shall I?
No, I was just going to say, I feel Beth is right where I was, a year, 2 years ago, where I was just kind of spinning my wheels thinking, I need to get this certification, then this certification, because that's going to prove my technical abilities, when there's a ton of people out there that have much better technical abilities than myself. There's kids probably a decade younger than me, 2 decades younger than me, that have better technical skills than I might have. But focusing on, like Beth being a teacher and being able to deal with people on different levels, that's huge. That's a huge skill that not everybody has. Use that to your potential.
I completely agree. Thank you. Kerry, what's Kerry saying? Watch your step, Simon, stepping off that high horse. It's very true. I'll probably end up falling on the buttons, Kerry. It's your question that I'm going to bring up next, Kerry. So you led into that quite nicely there. What can I do to tap into jobs? Kerry's frustrated. Kerry started the year really, really positively. He's got tons of skills from a practical computing point of view from his history. Yeah. He's used to serve in the military in the US. So again, he's got loads of skills he can bring for that. But he is struggling to stand out, to be seen by companies, to get hired. What would your recommendation to him be, Aaron?
And that's really tough, because I know Kerry from the Simply Cyber community as well. And I mean, he's done everything he has to do at this point. He's proven himself on many different levels. It's tough, man, because there are so many jobs and so many people, but yet for some reason or another, it is darn near impossible to get noticed. And
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you that I had the silver bullet that was going to get you to the top of every single list, but I really do think it kind of comes back to networking and just talking to people and getting involved with things. Not that Carrie, not that you're not doing that. I know you are.
I think you're right. And from what I've seen of Carrie, especially the last few months, I mean, we've had a tough time, Carrie. You've had a tough time. I've had a tough time, and it affects us sometimes. And you've done really well to maintain that positivity. But the one thing that does make a difference is consistency, and that's the hard bit. It's making sure that you're consistently portraying that image. And I guarantee you, if you keep it up, Carrie, and keep doing what you're doing, you will get there in the end. You will, 100%.
And it honestly, it takes one afternoon. As cliche as that sounds, I was sitting there for over a year trying to apply to everything under the sun that had the word cyber in a job description, right? And then one day,
been there.
Got a call back, and they're like, "Hey, we want to bring you in for an interview." You know, it can change just like that, and you never see it coming. You really don't. And I have been, I've changed careers multiple times over my life, and sometimes it happens just like that. You just don't see it coming, and then all of a sudden it hits, and there's your opportunity, and you just got to, be ready to grab it. But I wish I could give you the answer to that, but it's so difficult to be able to really pinpoint without setting unfair expectations. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it goes super fast. I think
Adam's made a good point, which sort of reinforces what you've been saying. Good to see you, Adam. By the way, we're due for catch up on Friday. I think I'm looking forward to it. One thing that he's seen is a smart use of LinkedIn makes a huge difference. Tell your story, identify the targets with who you want to build relationships, and consistently build. I think that's the word, being consistent, isn't it? Another good question has just come in. Which comes up all the time from another favourite person of mine, Mr. Cody Kennedy. Would a good idea to maybe start in something like IT help desk and work your way up? This is a controversial topic.
It is. But I would say nothing is going to necessarily hurt you, no matter where you're going. It's if you can take that ability and somehow turn it into a strength as you're looking for other positions, great. You can talk about how as a help desk technician, you were able to deal with a large volume workload. We all have a ton of work that we have going on. Being able to take all that and keep it all sorted and make sure that you're getting things closed out, that's a huge skill to be able to have. I don't think that it's not going to be the perfect position to get in, but there is no such as a perfect position to get you into cyber. So it's just another one. The job that I had just before getting the cybersecurity had very little overlap, but being able to take those pieces of what I did, put those into the bullet points in my resume, and then tailor that resume to the job description that they had to be able to say, oh, they're looking for this, they're looking for this, they're looking for this. Okay, great. I can use these 3-5 bullet points and put those in there out of the 7 or 8 bullet points that I would normally have for a position. Take those few, put it in there, so that way it says, hey, by the way, I line up with what you're looking for. That's what's going to help you out, I think, the most.
100%. And I think from my point of view, understanding what you're good at and what you're not and how you work makes a huge difference in helping you gain clarity on what direction you should take in your career. And I'm like you, Aaron, I've done loads of different types of jobs. I've sold frozen fish out of the back of a van. I've chartered mock pirate galleons in the Canary Islands and sold booze cruises. I've been in a regulated governance, oversight and control function in financial services. And sometimes it takes us to take a step back and look at ourselves a little bit more to work out what we should actually be doing. And I'm going to drop a link here. I think this is free. It's something I've done before, and it's based on the Myers-Briggs personality test. It's the 16 personalities test. Do it, have a look at it, look at the results, and look to see what it tells you about who you are and what you enjoy, and think about that before you start thinking about, I want to be a SOC analyst or I want to be a junior pen tester. And the other point would be, for those in the audience who are new to the industry, there's 52 jobs, 52 different job roles, I think, at the last look on the NIST website in cybersecurity. So there's a lot more than just SOC analyst and pen tester. So don't get blinded by that. And don't let those, I've got to be careful how I say this. So some of the boot camps and training providers out there, make it sound like all you have to do is a quick 3 to 6 month course and you're going to break into the industry. Now, whilst that might be true for some people, it depends on your experience and it depends where you come from. So one of the biggest things I see where people are failing, and me included 3 years ago when I tried to come in as a pen tester, is managing our own expectations on how long that's going to take. And you've got to understand that cybersecurity as a career, and Aaron said this at the start, no CLI experience. For people who haven't got the hands-on tech or the fundamental understanding of networking, it isn't an entry-level job for you yet. You need to get those skills first, which is why, if you haven't got that, and that isn't the way you want to go, look at those different options like Aaron's been talking about. And the fact, I know it might have felt like 18 months of hell when you were trying to get that job, Aaron. It's not that long really in the grand scheme of things, is it?
No. When you look back, it doesn't feel that long. When you're in the middle of it, yeah, it does.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just looking at. Sorry, Aaron, after you.
I was just going to say one thing that you mentioned about speaking about things confidently. People pick up on that when you can speak about something confidently. Speak about those areas that you can be confident in. I actually went on a couple interviews, and the feedback I got when I spoke to the recruiter was, well, they could tell where you were confident, but they could also really tell when you weren't confident on an answer because you rambled. You went on for 5-6 minutes about something. And it's true, know where you're confident and talk about those things as best you can. And that confidence is really going to get picked up on by other people as well.
100%. Working on your self-confidence is another crucial part to it, I think, something that many of us don't do for long enough. Beth, I noticed you made another comment in there, about Adam Dennis asking you what particular area you're looking for. If you're looking to get into security awareness, I agree that the SANS course is probably the best one, and the CCAP is also really good, but they are very expensive. And I would argue that with the skills that you're bringing across from teaching, 75% of it, the ability to communicate, get the message across, explain things in terms that people can understand, you've already got. So I don't think it really matters what certificate you take or how you get the knowledge. You could probably go on YouTube, again, jump in the community, ask the community for some help, for some free links, because I'm sure there's stuff you can learn without paying for it. Again, Aaron mentioned this earlier, which is ISC Squared. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were offering 1 million free exams on this course. So I'll put the link in there. Again, it might help to fill some knowledge gaps, but my advice would be not to focus too much on the exams and focus more on relating your experience to what you're learning in the industry and how that will help any employer that you're looking to work with. We've got one last question, and then we're going to have to wind things up because we're pretty much out of time. And it's Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. And Daniel said, a friend talked about building a relationship with employees of a target organization against sending direct messages to their hiring managers on LinkedIn. What are your thoughts about that? It's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
If it's a legit request to try to get to know people and get to know the company, go for it. I mean, they're going to be a great way of being able to find out, even if that is a company you want to work for, right?
Yes.
Be upfront about it. Be like, hey, listen, I am looking at applying for a position. I love the company. Would you mind telling me little bit of the company. I see that you work in this role or this position or this department. Tell me more about the company. And, most people will probably be more than happy to tell you a little bit about it. Like, oh, great company, really like X, Y, and Z. This could use some, or, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get out of here.
It's a nightmare.
Because of X, Y, and Z. You're right. You're going to be able to kind of fill it out. Is that even a company you really want to work for? I have no problem with the idea of starting to talk to people from the company that you want to work for, because you're going to get some inside information. But, I would also say don't do it under false pretense, right?
I was just going to say that. So the word that you used at the start of that was genuine. And I think if you've got you want to genuinely build a connection with someone, that's going to come across. And if you need help with that, there's one thing that people love, and that's talking about themselves. So if you're approaching me particularly, is that why you're smirking, Aaron, isn't it? For me, I would engage with people at the firm, and like Aaron said, ask them what the job's like. Have they worked somewhere else doing a similar job? What is it they enjoy? What are the challenges? Ask them to talk about themselves, and people will warm up to you and definitely want to impart some of that information, I would have thought.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a great idea. And
Excellent.
Dealing with people at the company as opposed to a hiring manager or something else, they may not get as many, cold calls, I guess, for lack of a better term, from people that they're more apt to ignore. You start talking to regular people within the company, they're more apt, I would think, to get in touch with you.
Yeah, very true. Last question, because Ezekiel's just sneaked it in there before we wrap things up. Let me bring that up. Here we go. It's a difficult question, though, not one I'm sure we can answer, but we'll give it a go. Can obtaining the IC Squared certified in cyber certification lead to job opportunities without needing the CompTIA Security Plus certification? I think the first answer there is it depends. A second answer is it depends. And the third answer is it depends on the role that you're going for, the company you're speaking to. Yeah. Again, as much as I've stood here and said don't chase certs, there's lots of employers out there still who require a degree for you to work at their organisation. And some of the hiring managers out there, not knowing much about the industry, will have a list of certifications they expect people to have, would be my comment. Aaron, any thoughts?
Yeah, just like we had said before, certifications are great. It teaches you wonderful skills and talk about the industry. But I don't think that the certified in cyber,
it's high level.
Plus, yeah, it's very high level. So it'll give you a very good overview of things. Another area that I use is Professor Messer. He has an amazing amount of videos directly for Sec Plus and A Plus and Net Plus, and he does a great job. I was able to learn so much through those videos that wouldn't necessarily land me the job, but it allowed me to be able to speak eloquently about certain topics. It allowed me to have that confidence to talk about those things. But it really depends. It depends on your background. It depends on the job you're going for. It depends on the hiring manager, the needs of the company. It's tough to say. Yeah,
100%. Well, look, Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and have a chat today. It's really, really good to see you. And I think, or I hope that people watching have learnt lots today and got some insights that they can take away, hopefully actionable ones where you can actually start to apply some of these ideas and make some progress. But again, come and join the InfoSec Live community if you haven't already. There's lots of people in there who are prepared to reach out and help. There's lots of you in the chat who I'm desperate to catch up with soon, so I'll start sending out some DMs. But if anyone watching wants to catch up with me, send me a DM on LinkedIn, approach me in the LinkedIn community, in the InfoSec Live community, and I'll happily jump on a one-to-one call. Got some space next week if that would help. We're back in the studio here next Tuesday, so we're out of here for the week now. I'll be back downstairs in the house, away from the studio. And we've got Lauren Watkins coming in on Tuesday the 16th at 6 o'clock. Our time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And Lauren is a recruiter working in the tech space, and she's going to teach you how to elevate your career and how to open some of those doors. So if you're interested, pop along next week. Aaron, again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I better let you get back to doing that production work for your wife, really, hadn't I?
I got that and a couple other things I got to take care of today, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. I really appreciate
No,
the
thanks, Matt.
opportunity
And
to
I
come.
look forward to seeing you again next time I'm in Tampa, which hopefully will be soon.
Absolutely.
Cheers, man. Take care. Have a great evening, everyone. See you later. Bye.